Welcome to Kaleidoscope. I'm your host, Aldemaro Romero Jr. In this episode of Kaleidoscope, we look at the issues of crime and punishment and the story of Jeff Mizanskey. Sentenced to life without parole, Mizanskey has spent the last 20 years in a Missouri prison. His crime? Possession of marijuana. How this happened is both fascinating and tragic. Whether or not Governor Jay Nixon should pardon Mizanskey is the focus of this new documentary by Eric Sykes, a student filmmaker here at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. In his film, Here I Am, Sykes takes us behind bars and behind the growing movement to free Jeff Mizanskey.
I'm in here for marijuana, and if things don't change, I'll die in here for marijuana.
My dad didn't kill anybody. He's in prison for life without parole for pot.
What about marijuana law reform? You're in favor of that. I've heard you say that, look, everyone behind the scenes, of course, thinks that we need to do it. How do you feel about the Obama administration being reasonably aggressive in terms of federal prosecutions?
Yeah, it's disappointing, particularly on medical marijuana. I mean, the fact we're having raids, the likes of which we couldn't have imagined during the Bush administration, and they're happening. The Obama administration has been frustrating and a bit disappointing.
I think the federal war on drugs is a total failure. You can at least let sick people have marijuana because it's helpful, but compassionate conservatives say, well, we can't do this. We're going to put people who are sick and dying with cancer, and they're being helped with marijuana if they have multiple sclerosis. The federal government's going in there and overriding state laws and putting people like that in prison. Why don't we handle the drugs like we had alcohol? Alcohol's a deadly drug. What about the real deadly drugs are the prescription drugs? They kill a lot more people than the illegal drugs.
A shocking new study by the American Civil Liberties Union has found that more than 3,200 people nationwide are serving life terms without parole for nonviolent offenses. Of those prisoners, 80% are behind bars for drug-related crimes.
He's in Jeff City Correctional Facility, or Correctional Center. It's the newest prison they built up there in Jeff City, and it's got to be literal hell to live in that place, honestly. It's a level 5 maximum security prison. My dad's a nonviolent offender in there for marijuana charges, but due to the fact that he has a life without parole sentence, he is scheduled to be a level 5 inmate. Somewhere around 10 years before I caught this case that I'm on right now, I got caught with half a pound of marijuana and a sales charge. And about 5 years after that, I got caught with just possession and sales. I got caught with possession of another, I think it was around a quarter pound of weed. And this. So it said because it was 3 different times, they enhanced my sentence twice and give me a life without. So, yeah, I think I served my time, 20 years for nonviolent crime. They consider a life sentence now 30 years. Okay? If you do everything you're supposed to do, if you don't have an 85% mandatory, most people get out within 15 years. There's a lot of people in here that have life sentences they're getting out for murder. But yet life without marijuana? Don't make sense. To me, it don't make sense. I watched his speeches, and that he had mentioned in there, I don't know if it was the State of the Union or if it was one of the budget meetings he had or whatever, but in his meeting, he mentioned that he'd like to get the nonviolent prisoners out of the prison system. Yeah, if I remember right, and I'm pretty sure, look back to the records, you could probably find that. I think that's a good idea. I mean, there's other ways to take care of problems. That would probably be a whole lot cheaper and probably would free up a lot of these prisons for violent people that really need to be in there. I mean, I hear on the news all the time where there's shootings and murders and everything else, and come on, get off the marijuana, get on some of that stuff. If they release the police to find that, they can put it in there. But if he follows what he said, you know, I think it'd be a real good idea. That's one of the reasons I put in paperwork to see if I couldn't get clemency because of what he said.
You probably wonder why he got this kind of sentence. It's because of our what's called prior and persistent drug offenders laws. Jeff had 3 prior cannabis-only, nonviolent felony convictions, all guilty pleas. In 1984, he sold an ounce of pot to a relative. The relative didn't know the guy in the car was a narcotics officer. And from what I hear, he was roughed up a little bit when he was arrested too. But the next day they came back with a search warrant and found about a half a pound in Jeff's house. So he pled guilty to those 2 felonies. There's 2 strikes against it. I don't know why they gave him 4 strikes this time, but 2 priors was enough for his 3rd conviction to get sentenced as a persistent offender, but he didn't. In 91, about 2 to 3 ounces was found in Jeff's house, and he pled guilty to that as well. Served his probation, got through those 3 felonies. He had given some folks a ride to a motel room in Sedalia, and those folks was involved in a transaction. The guy Jeff gave a ride to, Adelano Quintano, left with a 7-pound package of marijuana under his package. What they didn't know when they went to that meeting is that the 3 Hispanics that were coming up from New Mexico had been stopped for a traffic violation, and 86 pounds were found in their car the day before. And they agreed to help police set the intended recipients up. But the videotape of that shows that both the informants and the narcotics officers were surprised Jeff showed up. This wasn't his deal. At most, he was a mid-level dealer. It was helping somebody get 7 pounds at most. It helped support his problem with the meth. So when he went before Judge Scott here in this county, and our prosecutor, who's still a prosecutor here now, Mr. Middlehauser, asked for the prior persistent law to be applied, and the judge gave him a life sentence. It was a judge's discretion. So that's life without parole for selling an ounce to a relative, having a half a pound, and having 2 or 3 ounces, and then getting caught in the middle of a sting operation. No guns, no violence, no kids.
My oldest son is in construction right now. I don't know where he's working. He keeps switching different jobs here and there. You know how construction is. You learn that. I taught them both when they were young: construction, mechanical work, electrical work, plumbing work, even a little bit of heavy equipment, because that's all the fields where I'm. And my other son, Chris, I think he's speaking to Chris, he trying to get a bar started.
I'm sure there's a lot worse people out there. I mean, I know of a fellow here in town that did a 10-year sentence on a 20-year. He had a 20-year sentence and did 10 years on it and got released. And he got a 20-year sentence for raping somebody. Got released after 10 years. Did it, raped another person less than a year later, and is back in there now. And he probably has more of a chance of getting out than my dad does. Yeah, they said for good behavior and overcrowding. And he wasn't out a year and raped somebody else and went back to prison. So, and in all reality, they need to open up, if they're overcrowded, they need to take people like my dad out of there that's in there for nonviolent criminal offenses that, in my opinion, that shouldn't even be in there for, he shouldn't have done 5 years on.
I know people that's committed murder and they're not really even remorseful. I've seen a few of them go home. Unfortunately, in my heart, I'm afraid they're going to do it again. Not all of them. But there's a crunch on bed space. I mean, they've only got so many beds, so they got to let somebody go. Unfortunately, we got people out there raping a lot of kids. They come in for a little while and they're going back out. Repeat offenders. They got people that are doing burglaries out there. They're hurting people. Drive-by shootings. There's a number of people that should be in here that are out on the streets.
There's a lot worse things out there in the world than a little bit of pot. It's not like it's killing people left and right. It's not like that, you know, you do it once and you're hooked. It's not like methamphetamines or cocaine or heroin, or it's a way different animal than any of those. It's to me, it's appalling that people actually go to prison for smoking, possessing, or growing pot.
Because times are changing out there. I mean, 58% of the people, I think it should be legalized now. So do I. Maybe he'll take that in consideration when he's looking over my papers for clemency, because I don't believe anybody deserves to be in prison for marijuana or jail. Now, there's lots of ways to make money on it legally. Just think of the stimulus that the country get. I mean, look how much money is going over our border. That's all money that should be kept in the United States.
I like to say, I think the worst thing about all of this is that people that are not behind this, they see us, they label us as, oh, we're behind this because we want to be able to go home and get high or smoke pot. We're all a bunch of potheads and we don't take anything seriously. And it's not even about that, because it's been illegal for how many years? And guess what? People are still doing it. You know, that's not why we're here. We're here because of what's right, you know, because there are so many benefits you can get from it, and that's why people are afraid to talk about it.
Well, there's one thing that I always like to come back to, and I'll quote, more or less quote, Ethan Nadelman of the Drug Policy Alliance. It doesn't matter if you love cannabis, or you hate cannabis, or you don't give a damn about cannabis. Policy does not work.
Yeah, it's not working either.
In the first place, the cannabis helps people medicinally, while cigarettes have been proven to be harmful to your health, that it causes cancer. You can go into any store and buy a pack of cigarettes or buy a bottle of booze. You know, they would rather sit around and kill their brains off with the damn alcohol and the stupid cigarette, because look at all the chemicals that they have admitted that are in the cigarettes.
Well, I don't want to demonize people for using or cigarettes or alcohol either. I mean, my perspective is I'm a libertarian. I think people should be allowed to do what they want as long as they're not hurting anybody else. And so, you know, I think it's a free country, and you need a very good reason in this country to put somebody in a cage.
Well, what if you could go into a gas station and buy a pack of marijuana cigarettes? What do you think somebody would pay for that? And how much do you think it would cost to make that?
Well, we actually did a study on the economic impact.
Hand over fist. I mean, it's ridiculous. They can charge $20 for a pack of decent grade marijuana cigarettes, and people would pay it. And you would know what you're getting. You know it's not laced with anything. It probably cost them like 30 cents to make it. And I mean, that's revenue right there. It's
True.
all right there.
I will say though that if even if it costs 30 cents to make, once the black market is gone, the price will probably come down fairly substantially. So I mean, even if people would pay $20 for a whole pack of marijuana, it would cost less. But we did a study with Jeff Mizanskey of Harvard University last year on the economic impact to the state government of Missouri if we legalized and taxed and regulated marijuana like alcohol is. And now this is really hard to predict because who knows what the size, it's a black market, it's illegal right now, so no one really knows the size of the market and what the market could be if it were legal. But he estimated that we spend about $90 million enforcing marijuana laws in the state of Missouri right now. And we're missing out on $59 million in possible new tax revenue.
Well,
so that's a combined $150 million. And that's about,
annual?
what?
Is that annual?
Yes, that's annual.
$150 million just in the state of Missouri?
Yeah, and that's roughly what the state of Missouri.
Now that's a tune that your voter can sing to.
Yes.
Marijuana has helped me through my life. But that don't mean I would go back to it without it being legal, for the simple reason is crazy consequences. I mean, if you got a fine, something like that, I could even see that being fair. But life sentences, life without, 10 years here, 20 years there, taxpayers paying a lot of money for that. It amazes me. I just never in my life would I ever even thought that anybody could even get a life without parole sentence for marijuana. And then murderers get life or 20 years, 25 years, and are back out. There's something wrong with this system.
My mother got a little upset with him when he went to prison and divorced him. And I can't hold her to that because, I mean, he did get a life without parole sentence. So, but it really did. It didn't only affect me and my immediate family, it affected so many other people around us and around the family. And it didn't just affect this little town, it affected people all over that knew my dad, that know that he's a good person, that know that he don't deserve what he got. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, or it doesn't take a cannabis activist, or it doesn't take a pot smoker to realize that he's unjustly in there. Every day I wake up and hope and pray that he does get out. And now more than ever, with everybody getting right in pieces and the Show Me Cannabis behind us and people like yourself, I'm hoping that Jay Nixon takes a listen and grants him clemency. He's 61 years old. He's been in there for 20 years of his life. He's missed so much of his family, everything in his life. He's missed his parents passing away. He's missed his so many family members being born and so many people growing up that now that are 15 years old and 20 years old that never even knew the man. I would like to say, yeah, I'm still hopeful that he gets out.
I got to see my mom one time since I was locked up. She come up here. In a wheelchair, dying of cancer. That's when I made my promise. And here time stands still, so it just seems like yesterday. I had loving parents. They were good. Father taught us meaning of work, honesty, helping people. We was raised in a family with 5 children, so we never really had all that much, but we had enough.
The problem with the governor is he's dragging his feet. I don't know, I can't read the minds of politicians, what wind they're waiting to blow which way, but I hope to blow a hurricane of letters into his office, emails into his office, I hope that the publicity and news coverage gets greater, because it's really not a matter of the parole board deciding whether or not he's a nice guy. It's really a matter of political will. And that's where it sets, in the governor's hands, in our hands.
We're also giving the governor a little bit of time to do the right thing. There was actually an op-ed in the Post-Dispatch just last week where Bill McClellan, who's one of the most influential columnists in the state, wrote to the governor about this case and said, look, you have a chance to do the right thing, or else I know this Show Me Cannabis is planning to, run a large campaign trying to force you to do the right thing. So do it now, as opposed to getting forced into doing it later. And we really hope that he actually does the right thing. But if he doesn't, then I'm going to do everything in my power to unleash hell upon him.
I think he's a fair man, from what I've read and seen about him. Don't really know a whole lot more about him. I know he was the Attorney General for a while. If he's a fair man and really wants to help somebody, here I am. Don't get much enjoyment in here. Not too many smiles. So. Being out there and be productive. To just sitting in here rotting. A lot of things I could have done out there to help. Freedom. Be out with friends and family. Be able to help people. Working. I enjoyed working. I enjoyed providing for my family. What else is there in life? Family and friends. Work. Being able to help somebody is amazing. Being able to watch your family grow. Being able to watch my grandkids grow would have been great. I didn't get to do that. I've got 2 grandchildren out there that I've only got to know between phone calls, letters, and a few visits. One of them's in college. The other one's in high school getting ready to graduate. That's no way. I'm sure my family members got hurt as much as I had as far as being in here. I wasn't there for them. I should have been. I think that's what I miss most. Thank Tony. Because he'd be the one that was instrumental in getting this started. Thank my family, hug and love them. Then go get something good to eat, like steak. After that, some of the things I've learned in the program was changing your playgrounds and your playmates. You don't want to get around the same people you were around, because a lot of them are probably still in their addictions. So you got to stay away from them. I may say hi, but that's about as far as it's going to go. And thought I'd move to Illinois with my brother. He's got a place for me there in Chicago. Offered to help me get started again. Find a job. No matter what, even if it's flipping hamburgers. It don't matter. Be a part of society. Get to know my grandkids. Really know them. Be able to hold them. That's probably it. That'd be great.
As of this moment, Jeff Mizanskey remains in prison at the Jefferson City Correctional Center. Governor Nixon's office declined Eric Sykes' request for an interview for his documentary. The governor, so far, has not said if he will pardon Mizanskey or not. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Kaleidoscope. Join us again next time as we explore more and new provocative documentaries created by our young filmmakers here at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. I am Aldemaro Romero Jr., and from all of us at Kaleidoscope, thanks again for taking a closer look.